Traders at Axis Bank say they expect more profit taking in the bonds market today as investors turn their attention to underrun securities. Bosun Obembe, the team lead at Axis Bank, joins me now for more market movements as we wrap up the week. Bosun, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. Yesterday, we saw the T-bill secondary market trade on a much more active note following the allotment levels we saw of the newly issued securities from Wednesday's primary market auction. Tell us more about the movements we've seen so far since the PMA on Wednesday.
So thank you for having me, Joe. Just like you mentioned at this week's auction, so the amount that DMO sold was about 362 billion. When you compare this to the usual 1 trillion sales that we've had in the last few weeks. So and the auction, if you look at it, it's skewed towards the long end, where about 92% of that 360 billion was long end. So, and the DMO maintained the same stop rate of 20.7 on the long end of the curve. And given the liquidity improvement due to the FAC payment, about 777 billion was came into the system via FAC allocation. So that boosted the system liquidity. And because the amount that DMO also wasn't so much, so we have a lot of interest from investors trying to pick this long end. So we saw the rate coming down from the auction closing about 20.7 to about 19.95. Even today, we're still seeing a lot of interest on this paper at the long end at the auction. So we've seen some bullish trend on the TBs. And today as well, we have coupon payment on 2029 and 2049 coming into the system, which we expect to boost the system liquidity, and we will see some cherry picking on that treasury bill as well. So it's been very, 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 very good, at least towards the end of the week, compared to when we started the week. We started with a ripple, but with the fact coming in and some coupon payment coming in today, we're seeing a lot of bullish trend on the beast.
Exactly. Now, in terms of how we're also seeing the Naira move, I know you're quite conservative speaking on the Naira movements, but there are concerns around whether or not this is an end to the rebound of the local currency and whether the movements or the measures by the Central Bank of Nigeria was enough to ensure that we can sustain this run. In terms of the new week we're going into, do you expect much more declines against the greenback?
I think for the coming week, I don't expect. I expect that the rate will stabilize, and CBN is one of the participants in the foreign exchange market, and it has played its role. So yesterday, there was intervention from the CBN, where CBN sold close to about $100 million to the market, and today, early today, we've seen CBN coming to that market to stabilize the exchange rate. If you notice, the reason why maybe we saw a spike is we had an NDF majority on Wednesday. And what we've seen is we have some offshore and some investors that had bought this NDF trying to buy a fund to clear their obligation. And by the time the NDF settles, so this demand that we've seen from these guys, it has reduced. So I don't expect that there will be that volatility in rate. So I expect that the rate to trend downward to about 1.2 going into next week.
So this is not a signal of any red flag of some sort. Now, in terms of what to expect much more next week, what's on the radar?
So for next week, next week we're entering a new month, and we have a lot of on the Naira side. I think the Naira will strengthen against the dollar. That's my view. And on the fixed income, we have coupon payment coming today, and we have some coming in next week. So I expect that there will still be that liquidity in the system, because what the CBN is trying to do is to mop excess Naira liquidity out of the system whenever they notice it. So, and this intention that I mentioned, the intervention, dollar coming in, the Naira going out, so it's another liquidity leaving the system. So I expect that the rate will still be at double digit. The market liquidity will still be very tight in terms of Naira. So funding will be very tough for banks. And on the fixed income side, we don't expect any. There's no auction coming in next week. The next one is 2 weeks time. So I expect that there will be some uptick in yield, given given that there will be less liquidity coming into the system.
Exactly. We are gradually wrapping up the month of April. Bosun, thank you so much for the updates there. That was Bosun Obembe, the team lead at Access Bank.